thanks for coming in for a chat with me today. I've been thinking about this kind of in the back of my mind for ages, and I've just kind of wanted to, like, I don't know, pick your brain a little bit and see what you've been up to and how it's all going.
No problem. Thank you for having me on. I'm always happy to chat about anything about Persona.
Can you give me like an introduction or like a general overview of like what your PhD is about?
Sure. So my PhD looks at non-human online persona. In short terms, I'm taking existing persona studies theories and I'm theorizing how a non-human could have an online persona, given that they don't have a self. And typically you need a self to have a persona. In simple terms, I am looking at the different ways that we present ourselves online, which is in line with this area called persona studies, which was invented for specifically media and communications contexts. So if you think about the way that you have a Facebook profile and an Instagram page and a LinkedIn, and all of those things are you, but they're different versions of you.
Right.
But you wouldn't say that you had split personalities across. It's still you, it's just fragmented across different platforms. So I'm taking those kinds of theories and looking at how non-human things like animals, fictional characters, and bots, AI, and this whole sort of niche in entertainment media now of virtual performers like VTubers. And I'm looking at how they also have online personas, but it's a bit complicated because with the existing literature, it's very much rooted in the fact that a persona is a representation or a performance of self. So that's the big question that I'm trying to tackle.
So like where it all stems from.
Yeah.
All the artificial stuff and the animals and...
Yeah, so I know we're chatting about authenticity today, so it is kind of that question of, does a non-human persona still have an authentic self that they are portraying? But further than that, I'm questioning, do they even need to? Is that element of an authentic self even necessary when it comes to these things? Keeping
in mind your public online presence, I guess. That's a huge thing.
People forget we have a digital footprint.
Yeah.
And it's there forever.
That's true. I think I've been more mindful of that in the past couple months, especially, like I said, coming to the end of my degree and kind of realising, oh, this is what it's all about. And kind of dividing my silly, goofy stuff and keeping that for my, like, close friend story. It's interesting to think about like authenticity in that way. In the past few years, there's been a bit more talk about like mental health as well, and this kind of idea that people only post the highlights of their life, I guess. And I guess the whole conversation around mental health is becoming less taboo now, which is good. So people can sort of like open up a bit more about not just the highlights, which is good to see. The thing with kind of deciding what you share where, so with close friends and then your public profile and such, it's kind of interesting. A term that came to mind for me was masking. Sort of like...
Yeah, that's a great term to use with persona. I mean, the word persona comes from the Greek prosopon masks.
Right.
And
that checks out.
Yeah. And then you've got the other root of the word from Carl Jung's theories about the ego being a mask.
Oh,
so exactly mask and persona is like, that goes hand in hand. But interestingly, in my PhD, I'm trying to move past that because that's where the concept of persona as a mask that you put on to represent yourself or perform something comes from, which is a bit complicated when we think about things like a fictional character that doesn't have a self in the first place to then put a mask on and represent themselves.
Yeah, so it's just the core of who they are is their performance, and that's it.
That's exactly right.
There's nothing underneath that.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's okay. We don't have to have the self underneath. Yeah, that very much comes from Deleuzean philosophy, which is a new edition. Not new. I mean, persona studies draws on it kind of inherently, but without saying it explicitly. So that's what I'm trying to do.